What's up, everybody? My name is Scott Paddock, and today I'm going to give you 5 tips to make your ballad sound better. When playing a ballad, the approach should be very different than when you're playing a medium swing jazz song. While they both are jazz and there will be a couple things that cross over, for the most part, the whole approach is completely different. So today, I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to make your ballad sound better. To demonstrate these 5 tips, I'm going to use one of my all-time favorite ballads, which is Duke Ellington's In a Sentimental Mood. Before we dive into the video, comment below with what your favorite ballad to play is. Mine has been In a Sentimental Mood for a very long time. I also really like My One and Only Love, and I played Summertime as a ballad on my first CD, and I played it as a ballad on shows forever. So those are 3 of my all-time favorites. Okay, so let's dive into the 5 tips. The first problem that I hear with my students when they play a ballad is they try to swing the 8th notes, and it would sound like this. And that just doesn't work on a ballad. When you swing the 8th notes on a ballad, it almost sounds like a country song. It just doesn't sound right. So when you play your ballad, you're going to think mainly straight 8th notes. So this is the way the intro to In a Sentimental Mood would sound with straight 8th notes. By using those straight 8th notes, it helps you build the line. It really helps it sound more dramatic. When you have those swing 8th notes, it just doesn't work. It just feels completely wrong. Now, the next thing that you need to do when you're playing a ballad, and this is super important also, is you need to soften your tone. You don't want to play full volume. You don't want to play really harsh notes. You don't want to play. Especially when you're starting the song off. That might work later in the song when you're trying to build some drama and be more dramatic with it and build some energy into it. But in the beginning, you want a softer tone. And if you're playing low, I almost always do subtones when I'm playing low on a ballad. If you don't know how to do subtones, I did a video on how to play subtones, so check that out. But subtones sound fantastic on a ballad, especially this one. So subtones, like you could hear on that last B that I just played, are like the soft, fuzzy, not full volume notes. And in a ballad, they are absolutely perfect. So now that you are playing your 8th note straight and you have a nice, warm, fuzzy, soft sound, the next thing that you want to think about is really shaping the phrase. I mean, we talk about shaping the phrase all the time. That's one of my main topics and one of the main threads that go through all of my videos. But in a ballad, you want to play extreme dynamics and extreme articulation. So you want your softs to be really soft and your louds to be really loud so that you have a really big dynamic contrast. And same with your articulation. Now, where we're not swinging the 8th notes and we're not playing super strong articulation all the time, when you bring out a note, you want to do it very strong. And when you pull a note back, you also want to do that very strong so that you create a whole bunch of contrast. So here is my idea of shaping the phrase with the dynamics. I'm going to do that first. So the first thing I'm going to do is start on that low D, and I'm going to work my way up, and you're going to notice that my volume gets louder. And then I find those important notes, and I lead into them, and then I pull them back so that there's a whole bunch of shape in the phrase. Take a listen. So, did you hear? I start on that D, I started soft, I got pretty loud all the way up into the E. And then as I did that chromatic walk down, I got way softer landing on the D. Now I get louder. So I'm going. That C sharp is really important to me. Again, that F sharp to the B, back to the F sharp. So dynamics are a gigantic part of making your ballad sound way better. So here is the beginning of In a Sentimental Mood without all of those dynamics. Like I'm not going to play zero dynamics. I'm just not going to go overboard with them. And you'll hear a really dramatic difference. So this is without. Now, this is with extreme dynamics. So you can hear that the dynamics make a gigantic difference. As I was demonstrating the dynamics, I was also using a lot of articulation. The two kind of go hand in hand, so you can't really do one without the other, especially in a ballad. So what I'm doing is I'm finding those important notes, and I accent them pretty strong. I bring them out a lot. There's not a ton of staccatos, but there are a lot of accents and bringing out that strong note, hitting it hard and pulling it back. So you have a lot of sforzandos and forte pianos and that kind of stuff. So the whole thing is like to build that line and really add drama to your melody. So take a listen to the articulation. I'll stop and tell you some of the things I'm doing. Obviously, all those notes are leading towards that E. So when I hit that E, I accent it pretty hard. So if you hear when I jumped to that B, it was the first note that I tongued. Everything else was kind of slurred so that the lines were kind of like leading into each other. Then I had that B and I wanted to break up the line a little bit. So finding that spot just to break it up and make it sound a little different is really important. So dynamics and articulations make a ballad, especially if you add that to a soft, pretty tone. The fourth thing that is super important in a ballad are embellishments. So embellishments are turns and falls and grace notes and all that kind of stuff. And when you're playing a ballad, the notes are slow, so you have a lot of room to add all that kind of stuff. Add in some chromaticism, some turns, some grace notes, some blips, all kinds of stuff, some scoops. It all is going to sound really good in a ballad. So take a listen from the beginning one more time, and I'm going to describe some of the embellishments that I'm using. On that B, I do a grace note. I do a 1-and-1 grace note, B flat to B, just to give that B a little bit more strength, just to switch up that eighth note line a little bit. This is what it sounds like without it. With it, it just adds that little extra punch in the line. And then I also do it on the E because the E is my goal note and I'm playing a little bit louder, I'm accenting it, and I'm using a grace note. So I'm doing all kinds of stuff to bring out that top note. Right there, you can hit that turn. It just adds a lot of ornamentation to it. Without it, it just would not sound as flowy. When you do those ornamentations, though, you don't necessarily want to accent them. You want it just to kind of like use it as a connector to get from one note to the next. So if I accent it, it would sound, which is just too strong for what we're playing. Okay, from the top one more time. I love doing chromatic falls. So the A to the F sharp. It just makes it light. It really brings some more expression into that F sharp. It makes you land on that F sharp. It makes it a more important note. So then I do a grace note into the B flat and then fall back into the F sharp again. Now Now, without all that ornamentation or without all that embellishment, this is what it sounds like. Which sounds fine, but not nearly as good as. So on that C sharp, you just heard that double scoop. Again, it just adds a lot of character to the notes. That's the whole idea with the ballad. We're trying to add character to those notes. And the fifth tip when playing a ballad is play with the time a little bit, mostly behind the beat, but you don't want to be locked completely in the time. If I play this song completely 100% of the time, it sounds like this. It just sounds really metered. Metered meaning like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. When you're playing a ballad, you can really add a lot to it by playing with the time a little bit. Sometimes you're going to get it a little bit ahead of the beat. Sometimes you're going to pull it back. Sometimes you're going to wait for the resolve of the chord with the note that you're playing. So you just really want to play with the time and listen to where the notes are headed. This is what it sounds like. Listen to how I'm messing with this time. So that little walk down, I'm behind the beat. And then with that little section, I speed up the beat. I'm a little bit ahead of the beat. So I pull it back and then I push it forward and I find that one note to hang out on while everything kind of resolves itself. And then I start playing with the time again. Listen to the whole thing. Again, I just find those goal notes and I use the time to lean in and lean out of those goal notes. That's what makes the ballad sound really good. That's what makes the phrasing sounds really good. So when you add all 5 of those things together, it takes a bland and boring ballad into something that sounds really great. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. I really hope it helps you with your ballads. And if it does, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel. Leave me a comment below. Comments really help with ranking on YouTube. So comments are super important. So if you wouldn't mind, leave me a comment. I'd really appreciate it. Like my channel, like my videos, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks a lot.